I mean, those stages are quite peculiar to the Quran. Quran is quite unique in describing those stages because the bones are formed first and then the muscles, and this is how would a desert nomad know that?
Right now I'm laughing at this idea that this is a specific description of embryology.
On the page number 364A of his book, The Human Embryo, that in the 7th week the bones are formed, and immediately after that the flesh is formed, and the bones are clothed with flesh. Keith Moore is wrong. He's an embryologist. This is his field.
It's my field too. I know he's wrong.
You're an embryologist?
Yes.
Oh, great! Wow, that's news to me. Okay.
So that's wrong, because what happens first is you have differentiation of mesoderm.
Right.
That within the mesoderm you have segregation into things like embryonic mesenchyme, and then you have these cartilaginous centers that will form bone.
Right.
And these are forming simultaneously with each other.
Right. Simultaneously.
Yes.
Even if that's the case, the Quran is right, because thumma is very, even if that's the case, linguistically the Quran is right. Thumma literally can in Arabic language means things happening simultaneously.
Parallel as well.
Yes.
But that's besides the point. So wait, let me read it. Professor Myers, I think what's interesting, even if you're right, that means we would have to assume that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing upon him, actually used to go and look into biology. He was a biologist. He would actually go and investigate things about mountains.
He was an astronomer.
He must have had a library of an Alexandrian magnitude. So even when you make these assumptions, it's still problematic.
He was a geologist?
Because this is what I've been telling you.
Sure.
There are no embryological details of any consequence in the Quran.
Well,
this is not stuff.
The details are not there. You're right.
This is not stuff that requires a huge library to figure out. This requires a passing acquaintance with general knowledge about the primitive state of biology at the time.
That's a fair point. Are you willing to accept now that Muhammad possibly had general knowledge about astronomy, hieroglyphics? He had knowledge of, for example, geology.
Yep.
Is great.
No, I've been saying quite the opposite. I'm saying that he's a man of his times, that he was part of a culture,
Right.
that the Arabs of that time were not quite as primitive and dogmatic and ignorant as you seem.
Well, it depends what books you're reading, sir, because this is my history. I'm a historian from the University of London, and I'll refer you to the books of Irfan Shahid, who's an authority in this field, pre-Islamic Arabia, and he states that Arabs at the time were a primitive society.
Yes.
And now you're saying yes.
Well, no, I agree. They were.
They were primitive in the sense they were.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
There was no Arabic language written down at the time.
On the one hand, you are complaining that there was this detailed, wonderful science in the Quran that he could only have learned from, revelation.
Sure.
And I'm saying that no, that what we find in the Quran is an extremely primitive science. There was nothing more than the common man could have learned from, general interactions with learning society at the time.
I think the really sad thing here is you're missing the enormous picture to focus on the pixel.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. The enormous picture is that you have something that only communicates with the least credible possible proponent. And he wants you to believe impossible nonsense for no reason. And only if you believe impossible nonsense for no reason will you be saved. And you will get unimaginable rewards if you believe whatever the priests are selling, and you will suffer a fate worse than death if you don't buy into their nonsense.
That's not true. That's quite a...
I just want to make sure we don't have a language barrier. So when I said that you are punished for not believing, you're saying that I'm wrong, that in your religion you are not punished simply for not believing.
No, you're right, but it's bigger than that. It's an existential question.
So I was right.
No,
okay.
well,
what else am I wrong about?
Well, I think the way we connect with each other is not by having yes or no answers, but having a conversation, right? So it's an existential question. For example,
hold on just a second. I want you to think for a moment about the creator of the entire universe.
Yeah.
Doesn't give a rat's ass whether you do anything good or bad in your life. All that matters, the sole criteria, is that you are gullible enough to follow the story of the least credible illiterate proponent you can follow. That's the sole criteria, and that's all.
No, that's not true.
Okay,
There's
if
two
that's
things.
not it,
Can I
then an
explain it to you?
unbeliever could be saved. An unbeliever would not go to hell.
that's true.
If all unbelievers go to hell, then the sole criteria is gullibility.
Let me give you an example. First and foremost, what we say is that the Quran says we do not punish anyone until they have given the message. And there is another concept in the Quran called Dalil Burhan, which means conclusive evidence that you require to be conclusive. Now the second thing is, because the message is good for you, that's why. And we've seen that in history. So no,
Now I can't.
Thank
You just damned us all
well, maybe,
now.
no.
The Quran, so far as I know, in denying evolution, denies itself. And you are telling me that what I have to instead adopt,
It doesn't deny all principles of
The
evolution.
Quran doesn't talk about evolution. So
regardless, what you're telling me, it talks about Adam and Eve and all of this, and the great flood that we know didn't happen and all of that. But apart from all that, you're asking me to accept this uber galactic super being.
well, the Quran doesn't talk about the great flood either. So
Okay. Okay. Just to clarify, the important point is you're asking me to accept this uber galactic super being, of which we have no evidence at all, from a system of religion which has so far only produced failure in every predictable sense. And you want me to believe that this thing will punish me simply for not believing, and it wants me to believe the least credible people and the most improbable stories, and I'll be punished if I don't. How is that not a criteria of gullibility?
But there's two assumptions here. First and foremost, said there's this galactic being that doesn't exist. I would deny that. I think there's very good reasons to believe that a divine exists. I could articulate them for you.
I would love to see
you can read this book. You'll discover it's bullshit all the way through.
Professor Myers,